Hey everybody, I don't know if you can see me. Hold on one second. We're one man show to the operation today, so give me just a second. Let me make sure that everything's working okay. Okay. Hey everybody, I don't know if you can see me. Hold on one second. All right, I think we're working. This is a special Facebook Live that we're doing. We just want to keep, especially all of our drivers updated on coronavirus issues, and so forth. So we're going to be doing this each day for the next couple of 3 or 4 weeks. Hopefully it's not too long, just to keep everybody kind of up to speed and up to date on what's going on. Communication will be pretty important. We understand that. And listen, this is really uncharted territory for everybody, for us, for the government, for the country, for the world, and for each of you. So we just want to give you all the recent and most up-to-date information that we possibly can. Like I said, I am doing everything by myself here right now, so bear with me as you have questions or comments, that kind of stuff. I'll try to make sure that I get to them all. But yeah, I mean, feel free to send any questions or comments. You can. I would just ask that let's try to keep it appropriate for the forum, right? I mean, if you've got problems, specific to dispatch or something like that, maybe this isn't the proper forum. Continue to get a hold of your driver manager, or what have not. But but this, we just want to, like I said, communicate well with each of our drivers. Okay, so let me just go through this here. Okay. Yeah, what am I doing here? Okay, I don't know what's going on with my PowerPoint here, but we're on our Tri-State Secured page. We're going to have a special page that you can go to just for all updated news and information, and so forth. There's certain things that we want to send to you guys that's just way too long, for Qualcomm messages. So we're going to be utilizing email. Please check your email often and regularly, okay? Check your Qualcomm messages. Again, Qualcomm is not intended to be, I tell everybody here they should be using Twitter rules, 140 characters or less. Some of the things that we need to share with you is much longer than that. And I know it's frustrating, to oftentimes, for you guys to be receiving Qualcomm messages that are just way too long. And so we may send you a Qualcomm message that says, hey, check your email, or check your, check this, website, tristatesecured.com, slash, COVID-19 news, type of thing. If it's quick and short, we'll send it on, on the, Facebook, I'm sorry, on the Qualcomm, that's, whatever the quick and short message is. But for longer and more detailed messages, it's going to be your email a lot, or this website a lot, okay? A couple of other things here real quickly. As we're going through, all of these challenges, the CDC has certain recommendations, and you're going to hear some words like social distancing. You're going to hear, terms, quarantining and self-isolation, and so forth. Again, this is unprecedented, uncharted territory for everybody, going through this, okay? If you have symptoms, that are flu-like, then practice self-isolation or quarantining. I'm not a doctor, and so I don't want to get into what the difference between, what the coronavirus is or is not, or how it's related to the flu. And allergy season's going on right now, and a lot of those symptoms are going to be very similar. Let's not take any chances, though. Okay, and if you have flu-like symptoms, if you have concerns there, the best advice that we're getting from the CDC right now is practice self-isolation as much as possible. Wipe down, use gloves when you can. I mean, just be very clean, be very hygienic. So in light of that, I mean, if you have access to disposable rubber gloves, buy them. If you can get those Lysol disinfectant wipes, buy them, okay, and send those receipts in, to us, and we'll reimburse you. I don't know how much, give or take $10 a week, type of thing. And I don't know how often, you have to get things. I know buying some of those things can be a real challenge. I mean, there's been a real panic purchasing of, we all heard about the toilet paper and everything, but if you get an opportunity, to pick up some disinfectant wipes and, like I said, disposable latex gloves, go ahead and get some and send us in the receipts, and we're happy to reimburse you, as we go through this, okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, so if you're in the truck, the audio might be a challenge, but I'll try to speak as loudly as I can, okay? Hours of service still applies, okay? There's been some confusion about hours of service. The DOT has waived hours of service regulations if you're part of the coronavirus relief effort. That means if you're carrying specific materials or carrying specific items related to that. If you're not, hours of service still apply. So you should assume that hours of service rules apply, to all of our standard loads and everything. You'll be told specifically if for some reason hours of service rules does not apply, to your load or your dispatch or whatever. So just be prepared to continue to follow hours of service regulations. Canada, there's been some confusion about Canada. Canada is currently open to commercial loads, okay? We've been told, already that personal traffic, four-wheelers, you're probably not going to be able to get in and out of Canada. But if we dispatch you to Canada, you should be good to go there. Now, things change quickly. I mean, hourly, every 24 hours, type of thing. We will pass on information as soon as we have it. But for right now, everything that we have is, Canadian border continues to be open, for commercial loads. Like I said, personal traffic, you're probably going to be detained and stopped, but commercial should still be open. Blake, hold on to that, okay? I see your question here about what precautions drivers can take. Hold that thought just for a second, okay? The we just got this notice for Pilot Flying J. As far as I know, we don't have anything specifically yet from Loves or anything else, but I would assume that they're pretty similar, for the time being. But just from today, we got, Pilot Flying J. Basically, they are open for business as usual. There is some specific information that they want to pass on to you. However, okay, no fuel supply issues at this time. All showers are open. They're cleaning each shower after each use with degreaser, disinfectant, and floor cleaner. Okay, so the showers are still open. They are all closing all self-serve food. So prepackaged should be available, but self-service food, and you've probably seen it everywhere, like buffet type restaurants and everything. I mean, those places are by and large being closed down. They still have prepackaged food, but self-serve food is not available. Where dining seating is restaurants are still open, but they're just cleaning all contact surfaces often. Gaming rooms will be restricted to 3 participants at a time. Basically everything else, are continuing to clean regularly, disinfectants, so on and so forth. Driver lounges continue to remain open. Again, as they say, practice social distancing. So the Centers for Disease Control, they define social distancing as at 6 feet. Okay, try to stay away from about 6 feet, from each other, when possible. Again, the social distancing, can be tough. We're hearing now that the WHO and other organizations are essentially recommending that you don't congregate in areas larger than about 10 people at a time. the whole goal of this, as I understand it, is if there is somebody, that is, that has the virus, to limit their exposure to everybody, to other people. So obviously those 10 people, don't want to be exposed to it, but it's better only 10 as opposed to 500 or 5,000 or 50,000, type of thing. So, remember social distancing, just stay at 6 feet apart or greater as you can while you're communicating, and so forth. Really avoid handshakes. Avoid, personal contact, as much as possible, as part of that social distancing there. So anyway, that's basically, what we're getting from Pilot Flying J, there. Check their websites, check, the websites of Loves, of TA Petro, and they should presumably have, more updated information as well, okay? Blake, we're going to get to your question here. Kyle Jones, what can we expect of the DoD? Hazmat loads, increase, decrease, same? It's hard to say, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen. We are hearing that various customers are concerned about our ability to continue to perform service, and so it's there tends to be a delay effect sometimes. Right now, our freight count, our load counts, is still relatively stable as far as I'm aware, and so we've got plenty of work to do, for now. But again, things change quickly. Obviously, if there's an outbreak at a certain customers or an outbreak at a military base, then those can be quarantined and shut down pretty quickly, type of thing. So, but as far as I'm aware of right now today, our freight volume remains, pretty consistent. But again, that can change. Josh Yates shares that Loves in Indiana are not allowing people to sit in restaurant areas. Okay. All right. So Blake asked the question, what precautions can we take? I just heard the Phoenix office is going to start working from home. We drivers can't take that kind of precautions, and we're at a high risk simply going to a truck stop. Blake, that's fair, okay? And just to clarify, okay, not everybody's working from home, all right? The office remains, open. Center for Disease Control and WHO has sent out recommendations that those that are able to work from home do so, okay? And so we're evaluating, job by job and person by person, what their capabilities are. Part of what we're trying to do is, there's various, recommendations. Don't gather in groups of larger than 50. So we're trying to, stay under that, that 50 threshold. We're trying to make sure that all of our office employees have enough, space between, workstation to workstation that they can practice that social distancing that we talked about. So there are some of our staff that is working from home, but much of our staff is still here in the office. Here's the bottom line is, and as Blake points out, our drivers don't have the luxury of, just being able to work from home. There's various legislations that's being considered, that may change a lot of things. But you and I, we all know, we're in this industry. If the country thinks that they're, having issues now, just wait and see what happens if 30% of truck drivers decide that they should not work or cannot work. And then we'll see what real challenges are. The supply chain, process hopefully, can keep flowing, while the country goes through, the situation, but we don't have easy answers, there. What I can tell you, Blake, is we're here to support all of our drivers to the utmost, whether they're working from home or whether they're here in the office. We're committed to support you. We're not going to put you in situations that we know are is untenable, that's of undue risk. We're working with our customers, and and again, you know, as you guys all know, last Wednesday, you know, you're kind of able to shrug your shoulders and say, well, yeah, it's an issue, but we're probably, you know, going to go away, and some may even feel like there's an overreaction going. Some may feel like there's an overreaction going on today. But be that as it may, the world changed a bit last Wednesday. I mean, you know, how we're dealing with this. You know, the government. You know, President Trump is trying to keep the, you know, you see different graphs and different charts. You know, and we're just trying to keep the outbreak from being as aggressive as it has been in some European countries and so forth. You know, there. So you know, best practices for you as the driver. Again, is practice the social distancing as much as you can. Keep disinfectants and disposable latex rubber gloves. You know, with you when you do have to have an interchange. Avoid touching your face. Disinfect often. Customers, we've implemented, various, things for anybody coming, to the terminals, which includes drivers. And this is a real hard thing, So obviously visitors, we don't know them. We don't know where they've been. We don't know who they've interacted with. It's real simple for us to require visitors to fill out a form before they come into Joplin or Crane or Richmond or Plattsburgh. Our drivers, they're not visitors, we're co-workers, but at the same time, you guys are all over the country, you guys and gals, and some of you are coming off vacations, and some, there's been a lot of our drivers that are coming off cruises. And so we have to understand, too, where did these cruises go, and what has your exposure been? And so I hope you don't take offense, as we ask you to fill out a declaration of how you're feeling and where your travel has been, as we try to protect everybody, at each facility. Our customers are doing the same thing. This is a Clean Harbors check-in procedure, for example, okay, and we have several military bases, DoD bases that also sent in some of their, processes, and it often includes, again, using gloves and of course social distancing, and if there's a driver with symptoms, then there's a term that I've seen used called self-quarantining, where you're going to be asked to stay in your vehicle, at all times, there, and they'll handle the paperwork exchange, at the best and as safe as it can. All of those are not only to protect themselves, but also to protect you, and each of us individually, and you as drivers as well. I think I've got this is Clean Harbors, visitor screening, and so they're basically just going to ask you, pretty similar questions, the same as our form. In the past 14 days, have you been in contact with anybody who's been diagnosed, with the coronavirus? In the past 14 days, have you traveled to certain countries? Are you feeling unwell or experiencing, flu-like symptoms? And it's very important that you answer those questions honestly and accurately, because again, you may not have, you may just have allergies. You may have, the common flu. It may not have anything to do with the coronavirus, but this environment, this day and age, we just want to make sure that we don't take those risks, if we don't need to. Okay. I sent out an email earlier today, to all of our drivers, and basically it's a memo, that was written by management. Just talking about, what's going on with the coronavirus, and so forth. The highlights of that memo, okay, reduce exposure, practice social distancing, avoid airports. We are no longer allowing employees to fly. If it's absolutely critical, then we will, but what sense does it make to be on an airplane with 250 people, and let alone the airports with tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people? It doesn't. So if we need to relocate you from one place to another, we're probably going to ask you to drive, and we'll rent a car where we can. There's going to be times that we won't be able to rent cars, you know, so it's going to make things, you know, more difficult or more complicated or whatever. Please be patient with us, you know, as we go, you know, through these different options, you know, here. If you're returning from a cruise, the CDC recommends that you monitor your health and limit interactions with others for 14 calendar days. The coronavirus appears to have a shelf life of 2 to 14 days. You may not have any symptoms whatsoever from, you know, up until day 13. All of a sudden, day 14, if you guys can hear that or not. You know, before you come off your home time, okay, if you went away, you know, from, you know, your home or whatever, just call your DM, okay, and just talk through what you did, you know, who you saw, some of your activities, and we can just make sure that, you know, as much as of our abilities, we can guide you through whether, you know, it's a good idea for you to come back to work or not. There, so. Anyway, so those are some of the highlights of the memo that was sent to the email. Let me go back to some questions here. Joseph LaPuma, disinfect those keyboards and phone terminals, people on a daily basis. That's absolutely right. So at our various terminals, you know, we're getting in extra cleaning, we're getting in extra protocols, you know, where just, you know, doorknobs and counters and shelves are just being wiped down, you know, regularly and more often. But again, you know, I mean, you know, those are best practices for yourself. I mean, if you get those handy wipes or puts them in a bag, you just carry some with you and just get in the habit of you know, wiping things down. Alan Loves in Pueblo, Colorado is not letting you use the personal cups for refills, asking you to get a new cup to refill your personal cups. They close open foods except for Subway. Godfather's Pizza and Chester's are still open at this time. Thank you, Alan, for that. Doug Gonzalez, the Haydo. They've got some words of encouragement. Becky Etheridge, do you have any info on the rush of toilet paper? I have no clue. I mean, it's beyond me why toilet paper of all things is the shortage, but I really don't have an answer to that. You know, presumably, you know, all of those, you know, the supply chain is going to go through the process and we'll have everything back in probably the next few days, you know, type of thing, but I don't have an answer for why toilet paper is an issue right now. You know, here's a good suggestion from Don and Bonnie Huffman. Use your own pen. Carry your own pens around. Do not use the, you know, ink pens from shippers and customers. That's great advice. Make sure that you just, you know, use and keep your own pen, you know, with you. All cruises, future cruises have been canceled, or most future cruises have been canceled. Appears about. Any hoop, Valerie McDaniel, are there any hoops drivers will have to go through coming off home time? Again, not anything, you know, extra special, but, you know, if you've been traveling, if you're, you know, going different places, if you're feeling, you know, if you're feeling, you know, sick at all, just call, okay, and either get a hold of human resources, someone in HR or your DM, and just give guidance and advice. I mean, you know, Cheryl Hinkle and I, you know, talk 5 times a day just about various things. You know, just get advice and guidance, and like I said, I mean, nobody has all the answers, and we just kind of talk through things and see what the best decisions are. What is the protocol for truck drivers? Don Chambers, what is the protocol for truck drivers for the states that have a curfew? I don't know the answer to that, and yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Let me get some more information, and I haven't heard of states having curfews. I have heard of, you know, certain cities, you know, having some limitations, but to be honest with you, I'm not even aware of curfews in general. So. Any other questions, please send them in. Please email them in, to me or Cheryl. Cheryl or I will be doing a Facebook Live, like I said, every day, for the coming weeks or two, as long as it's productive. If it stops being productive, then we'll stop doing it, type of thing. But please feel free to send any questions. Be safe. Listen, we appreciate your work. We appreciate your efforts out there. One of the statements in the memo is, the drivers are critical to our national security. They really are. I mean, it's not just the freight that we haul, for the Department of Defense, but it's and you guys know this. If you guys don't stock the shelves, there's going to be greater unrest, and in many ways, as you drivers that keep panic from really becoming a larger societal issue. And so we appreciate all of you. We're here to support you. I mean, again, we do have some people working from home, but many of us are still here in the office as well, and we'll get through this. I mean, hopefully in the next couple of 3 or 4 weeks, but things are a little crazy right now. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and we'll talk more. Thanks. Bye.